Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me as the Kansas City Chiefs beats a big word. They find a way to squeak one out against the Las Vegas Raiders, 19-17 on Black Friday at Arrowhead Stadium, and I don't know how to feel. I think I echo a lot of Chiefs fans right now as I look at this game and I say, we got the win. The Chiefs are 11-1. There's no way around that. And you know what? Tomorrow I'm probably going to feel much more positive about this outcome, and I'm probably going to feel much more positive about this team. But right now, I have a lot of mixed emotions. The Chiefs today, outside of Patrick Mahomes, and if you watched the game today, if you had a chance to see this game and you haven't watched a lot of Patrick Mahomes this year, maybe now, do you see what I mean when I talk about Patrick Mahomes being much better than his stats would indicate because he has no offensive line protection? Neither one of his tackles could stop a third grader today. And yet still, Patrick Mahomes, because he is the GOAT, he is GOAT Mahomes, he ends up making plays, enough plays to get the Chiefs in position to win, despite getting no help. DeAndre Hopkins dropping a pass right in his chest that would have been a career highlight and kept alive a very needed drive for the Chiefs. In the offensive line, Jawan Taylor at right tackle, Wanya Morris at left tackle, until he was subsequently benched. Those guys, no help. Travis Kelce, phenomenal first half. He looked like playoff Travis Kelce in the first half. Disappeared in the second half. It looks like none of these guys are really helping Patrick Mahomes. Yet Patrick wills them to touchdowns.
Mahomes hit as he throws, and in the end zone, Justin Watson, touchdown.
He wills them to first downs. If you think that I'm glazing Patrick Mahomes, you're not watching the games. Watch the games. Watch this Raiders game, because you'll walk away from it thinking, frankly, what I think a lot of people were thinking. The Chiefs didn't win this game. The Raiders lost it. And Patrick Mahomes is the only reason why the Kansas City Chiefs have any business being as good as they are. Because Andy Reid made massive mistakes today. The defense made massive mistakes today. And frankly, on offense, it felt like it was Patrick Mahomes and 10 other guys that shouldn't be in the NFL a lot of the time. Right? Now, I could sit here and complain about this all day long. I really could. And I'm sure a lot of Chiefs fans feel the same way. You could sit here all day long and complain about this team. But I'll tell you what I feel, just walking away from it. I feel like this is a great time for the Chiefs to get woken up, because this felt like a wake-up game. It's Black Friday. You're at home. You probably spent Thanksgiving with your family yesterday. You're feeling pretty good. And then you get to the game. You think it's the 2-9 Raiders. What? We aren't going to lose to the 2-9 Raiders. Who loses to an 8-0 O'Connell? Nobody. That's how it felt like the Chiefs walked into this game. So I can only hope that this is some kind of massive wake-up call for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it should be. This was a game that should be a monstrous wake-up call. Every player on that team should look in the mirror tonight and go, how good are we? And how much time am I putting in? And how much time are the coaches putting in to be successful? And can we do better? Because I think the answer from everybody in that organization right now would be yes. And I'm not a negative guy. I'm not going to crack on the Chiefs. I'm certainly not going to call them frauds because they had an off game on Black Friday. That would be insane. And the Raiders always play the Chiefs tough, especially at Arrowhead, and especially with Antonio Pierce as their coach. Today, the Raiders came in and played a very tough game, but they didn't play a great game. We're not sitting here looking at a Raiders team like we looked at the Panthers last week, right? Last week, the Panthers played the Chiefs, and they played a fantastic football game. I mean, that was really a phenomenal game top to bottom. Bryce Young looks like a real generational talent. Everything that we're being told Caleb Williams is, Bryce Young actually played like against the Kansas City Chiefs. So that Panthers game was very much, to me, a good win for the Chiefs. Don't worry about the records. When you watch the game, that Panthers game was a good win for the Kansas City Chiefs. But watching this game against the Raiders, this was a lucky win for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'll take it. I'll take all your luck, baby. We should all go to Vegas. We should all go to Vegas right now. Let's fly back with the Raiders to Vegas and put all of our money on black. Because if the Chiefs are getting lucky like this, I feel pretty good. Now, I know people are going to say fraudulent when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, especially after this kind of game. But let me tell you something. Teams of destiny have games like this where you think, gosh, they're being outplayed, they're making mistakes, the offensive line can't stop anybody. And there were, make no mistake, there were a lot of very frustrating moments in this game. But to come away with a victory, as the Kansas City Chiefs did, you have to start to wonder, is this a team of destiny? Are the football gods aligning to put the Chiefs in position to keep winning games? Is the Taylor Swift voodoo magic so for real at this point that the Kansas City Chiefs can come out against the Raiders, play a really poor football game by Chiefs standards, and come away with the victory? Maybe that's what it is, guys. This was a team that went up against that did not look like they were ready to play today. And Andy Reid had some blunders today. So often I hear from people about how Patrick Mahomes is fraudulent, how Patrick Mahomes is carried by his defense. Patrick Mahomes is carried by his weapons. Patrick Mahomes is carried by Andy Reid. Well, today, everybody let Patrick Mahomes down, and the Chiefs still won because Patrick Mahomes still, even with under duress every single play, Patrick Mahomes still found a way to be a phenomenal quarterback in the biggest moments and will the Kansas City Chiefs to a win. And that is on Patrick Mahomes. If you watched the game, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't and you just read the stats, I'm sorry, you are sorely misinformed. This was a game where Patrick Mahomes really did have to do everything by himself. And he had nobody helping him. DeAndre Hopkins dropping that pass, that would have changed the whole game. 3rd and 11. The Chiefs had just given up a touchdown. And then the Chiefs gave it 3 and out. And then that led to another Raiders touchdown because the defense didn't have time to adjust. If Hopkins comes up with a catch that was legitimately a career highlight for Patrick Mahomes, evading Max Crosby. Crosby swiping at his feet. He's going down. He somehow finds DeAndre Hopkins as he's going down and throws a perfect strike right in the middle of the number for DeAndre Hopkins, and it pops off his chest and hits the ground. Nobody was helping Patrick Mahomes today. So the fact that he played as well as he did while everybody was seemingly working against him, it only notches another belt, or puts another notch in the belt of Patrick Mahomes' greatness, in my opinion. I think we're watching a guy that can really will his team to victory because all throughout the game, we saw Pat get no help. Yet even at the end, when the Chiefs have a 4th and 2 and a chance to really put the game away, and I think, call me crazy, but I think not going for it on 4th and 2 with the game on the line, that took a lot of wind out of my sails, man. I think it took a lot of wind out of everybody else because you don't trust your offense to get 2 yards. How do you feel about the Kansas City Chiefs offense going into December? We're getting close to the playoffs now. We're going into December. How do you feel about an offense that Andy Reid doesn't trust to get 2 yards? It's a little concerning, but still, in the end, the Kansas City Chiefs are 11-1. Still, after all of this, the Kansas City Chiefs are the number 1 seed in the AFC. And sometimes when you're a team of destiny, you get lucky. And that's what this is. It's a team of destiny. And I know all the losers out there are going to take all their shots and they're going to say the NFL is helping the Chiefs. But in reality, the NFL isn't helping anybody. It's the Raiders that help the Chiefs today. And when you're a team of destiny, sometimes you get help. You get helped out by these other teams. They screw up. Everybody else doesn't have to be perfect either. The Chiefs aren't perfect, and neither is anybody else. So that's why when people crack on the Chiefs or they say the Chiefs aren't as good as their record, look around the NFL, man. Every team is flawed. Every team makes massive mistakes. The Chiefs do too, but they tend to find a way to make up for them. And that didn't used to be the case. D Ford lining up offsides, it didn't used to be the case. But now we're lucky enough to be in a situation where the Kansas City Chiefs really are that destiny team, where things break right for them. It feels like the early to mid 2000s New England Patriots, because they won a lot of one-score games. The Chiefs have now won 14 straight one-score games. That breaks the record, the previous record, held by the 2003-2004 New England Patriots when they won that many close games as well. You don't have to blow every team out. And when you're getting everybody's best shot, it's really hard to blow every team out. So these close games, I think it's odd for people to expect me to sit here and cry and complain and go, my team only wins every game by a little bit instead of by a lot. I think I would sound really stupid if I sat here and said that. So while I understand the Chiefs are not a perfect team, they are an 11-1 football team that everyone should be very scared of come playoff time.
Is the running back, Isaiah. Big hole. There he goes. Inside the 30. Pushed out of bounds. Inside the 20-yard line. He's back.
Because I'll tell you this, no matter how bad anything might look during the regular season, when you have a team with 3 Super Bowl rings and you have number 15 on your squad, you are the last team that anybody wants to see in the playoffs. Even you, Bills Mafia, talk to me. Would you really rather see Patrick Mahomes in January than Lamar Jackson, considering both of their histories? Would you really rather see Lamar Jackson in the playoffs than Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely not. Teams in the NFL, no matter what happens, they're still afraid of the Kansas City Chiefs, and they should be. Because while the Chiefs have some issues they absolutely must shore up right now, they are still the most dangerous team in the NFL. And by the way, sometimes you get lucky. Talk to the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions should have at least gone to overtime yesterday, if not lost. But because of Matt Eberflus, what's his name? Oh, it doesn't matter because he's fired. If it weren't for him and Caleb Painting his nails Williams, then the Bears probably would have beat or at least taken the game to overtime against the Lions yesterday. So the Lions got lucky too. Sometimes in the NFL, you get lucky. And it doesn't mean that the Kansas City Chiefs are a bad football team, or even worse, it doesn't mean that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to somehow fall apart in January. Now, if this were last year's Steelers, the undefeated Steelers team, or a team that wasn't a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, I would be a little bit more worried, right? If the Chiefs weren't back-to-back Super Bowl champions, I would say, well, maybe this is a little fluky, but it's not. It's a dynasty team doing dynasty things and winning football games in dynasty fashion. If you go look at the previous dynasty, the New England Patriots, they had a very similar run to this. So it's not panic button time, except for left tackle. DJ Humphries has got to be good because it is panic time at left tackle. The Chiefs benched Wanya Morris, and they benched him because Patrick Mahomes, after that final sack given up by Morris, he came to the sideline and he was hot, yelling at the coaches, getting after them, because at the end of the day, at a certain point, Patrick Mahomes has to worry about his health. And if the coaches aren't going to worry about it, if Wanya Morris isn't going to worry about it, if Brett Veach isn't going to worry about it, then Patrick Mahomes has to say something. And that's what got Wanya Morris benched. And frankly, it should have. You can't let your $500 million quarterback get killed. And that's what's been going on with this team. They're letting their $500 million quarterback run for his life every single play. What do you think's going to happen? You have to fix left tackle, and you have to fix it right now. I know DJ Humphries is dealing with an injury. Go sign Donovan Smith. Go sign somebody. Go sign Willie Roaf. Maybe he has a game left in him. He's only 53 years old. He can't be worse than Wanya Morris. Do you think a 53-year-old Willie Roaf is worse than Wanya Morris? You'd have a tough time arguing it with me. you'd have a tough time selling me that Willie Rowe for one game isn't better than Wanya Morris. I'm just saying. We have a lot to get to here on the show. We have a lot to cover, and it's holiday setting here, so we're in a slightly different location, but that's okay. The Chiefs still number one. So here's one thing. We can't get caught up in the minutia. Today was a lucky win. The Chiefs were handed this win by the Las Vegas Raiders and their ineptitude. And you could see it. Everyone on the Raiders sideline was hot. They knew this was their game to win. Their kicker couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. They were going to give him one more chance, but the center screwed up. Hey, sometimes the other team screws up too, and you get a little bit lucky. And that's a good thing. Now, let's run through some of these. We have a bunch to get to. We'll run through some of the players, and we'll run through some of the bigger moments from this game. And we got to start with Stone Cold Jones getting home twice against Aiden O'Connell, 2 sacks. And early in the game, the Chiefs' defense was dominant.
Myers wide left. O'Connell in the pocket. Breaks away. Down he goes at the 9-yard line. Chased down by Chris Jones.
I mean, they were holding the 3 points early on. It looked like the Chiefs' defense had this game figured out. Karlaftis is in the backfield consistently. Justin Reed had an outstanding game. Nick Bolton was everywhere. 10 solo tackles for Nick Bolton. 10! And also he recovered the fumble at the end of the game to seal it. And he had a great pass rush up the middle with the game on the line and batted the ball away. Nick Bolton, for all the criticism he's held this year, he played an outstanding football game, and he looked like the Nick Bolton that everybody knows he has the potential to be. So that's a huge, huge bright spot from this game. Give Nick Bolton, Stone Cold Jones, George Karlaftis, Justin Reed, all those guys deserve a ton of credit. Now, Nazeeh Johnson, we talked a lot about him in the last show. Nazeeh Johnson's a guy that was plugged into a situation for Jalen Watson after he got injured. He didn't look very good. Frankly, he just didn't look very good throughout the entire game, but also throughout the entire season. Nazeeh Johnson has frankly struggled, and we like Nazeeh. We think he brings a lot of nice stuff to the table. He's a 2-time Super Bowl winner. Nazeeh Johnson, in certain situations, very good. As a number 2 cornerback, his time ran out today. He was benched. There you go. I mean, look, Joshua was brought in, and frankly, Joshua Williams is a good player. I don't know what you can do with that second cornerback position, but something has to happen. The Chiefs are sort of running out of those players that they can bring back. However, there has been recent news that Jalen Watson might be back by the playoffs. It feels like this thing with the Chiefs where we're constantly waiting for that next guy to come back from injury. It's been a very tough injury-filled season for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that stinks because you have very little control over that. And at the same time, it looks as if we can't find that next man up mentality. Earlier seasons for the Kansas City Chiefs, it felt like there was always a next man up mentality. There were times where guys would get injured, and we would freak out about those injuries and worry about them and think something terrible was going to happen, and then somebody would step in, and suddenly he'd just pick up right where the last guy left off. Now, we got a little bit spoiled by some of the amazing emergences of Chiefs players stepping up for injured guys. Right now, that's not what's happening. We see wide receivers who aren't really in position. We're seeing corners get outplayed. We're seeing a lot of issues with these guys that are stepping in. So, how do you fix it? How do you fix the cornerback position? I don't know. I hope for Joshua Williams, but I don't know. I hope Nazeeh Johnson, or I hope Jalen Watson gets better, but I don't know. There is a lot to cover with this defense because, frankly, if you're going to give up those kind of big plays to the Las Vegas Raiders, it's hard to have a lot of confidence in what the defense can do going forward, especially against quarterbacks that are better than Aiden O'Connell. And if you're wondering which quarterbacks are better than Aiden O'Connell, all of them. So, yeah, it's a worry. It's a concern. It'd be weird to sit here and be like, no, the defense is great. I think people should get torched by the Raiders all the time downfield. No, it's a concern. But Still 11-1. It's important to maintain that perspective and not be the person just crying yourself to sleep because your team wins every game but not by enough points. It's weird to do that. So it's still 11-1. There's still a lot of reason for optimism for this team. Duh, they're the number 1 seed. It feels weird to sit here and worry so much about a number 1 seed, but we are because of what we're seeing in the games lately, especially the last 3. The Buffalo game, the Panthers game, which I think people are a little too hard on them, and the Raiders game. But especially the Raiders game because, frankly, the Raiders didn't play that well. Buffalo played really well. Carolina played really well. The Raiders didn't play well, but they were still there at the end of the game. And at home, the question has to be why? Why are we seeing the Chiefs in a game where they're playing against a team they should beat running away, and they couldn't do it? I'll tell you one big reason why. Red zone offense. The Chiefs have struggled with red zone offense the entire season. Getting the ball between the 20s, if they would have finished on a couple of those drives, the drives that had to turn into field goals. By the way, Matthew Wright, hell of a job. Great kicker today. He was awesome. But the Chiefs had to settle for field goals in the red zone so often that you think if they had a better red zone offense, if they had a better red zone offensive game plan, if they could protect Patrick Mahomes, this should have been a 3-touchdown victory. But once they get into the red zone, the offense completely forgets what they're doing. It's the strangest thing. And we've seen this before, right? You can go back and look at previous games, and we have seen the Chiefs in the red zone. They struggle. They can't get the ball into the end zone. They're settling for field goals way too often. That is a big concern. But it is fixable. Better play calling, smarter play calling. Isaiah Pacheco's back. They should have given the ball a little. 7 carries for Isaiah Pacheco. He ended with 7 carries and 44 yards. That's a really good average. Granted, 35 of those came on one play, so I understand why they didn't go to him a ton. But I'm telling you, this red zone offense, they got to make it easier. It feels like everything has to be cute. Everything has to be a shovel pass to a tight end. That hasn't worked for 2 years, by the way. The shovel pass to Noah Gray, it's like, that's a really cool play from 2021. You have to keep innovating. This is what happens when you're a championship football team. People figure you out. They start watching and they go, okay, that shovel pass to the tight end, we're going to be ready for it. So stop going to the plays that haven't worked for 2 years. Find a different one. These cutesy little plays in the red zone are why the Chiefs aren't scoring touchdowns in the red zone. And it's a simple fix. Instead of trying to get cute, battering ram, Kareem Hunt right up the middle, Patrick Mahomes rollout. These are simple football concepts that the Chiefs outsmart themselves from. If they get back to those solid concepts, not only will they keep winning and keep improving and stay the number 1 seed, making everyone in Buffalo cry themselves to sleep, but the Chiefs will elevate and start winning games without giving me heart palpitations by making everything as close as hell. I can't take how close these games are. They make every game so close. And I'm sitting there, my heart's beating out of my chest, and at a certain point, I start to feel a little numb. And I can't do that because I think feeling numb for me is a little bit impossible. But every time, I start to get this sad, almost numb feeling, and then they win. It's the 2024 Kansas City Chiefs. You feel sad, you feel numb, you feel angry, you feel outraged, and then your heart starts beating to the point where you're not sure if it's going to explode or not, and then in the end, the Chiefs win. That's the story of the 2024 Kansas City Chiefs, and you know what? I'm damn grateful to have it. Yeah, there's a lot of problems, and we're talking about all of them, but I want to maintain that perspective. I think it's important as a fan base, as a Chiefs kingdom, to maintain the perspective that this is an 11-1 football team that sometimes gets lucky, like today against the Raiders, and sometimes pulls out amazing wins, like against the Denver Broncos. But in the end, they are still an 11-1 football team. Another guy to get to, Travis Kelce. Fantastic first half. In the first half, Travis Kelce looked like playoff Travis.
Mahomes. Clean pocket. The ball is flipped from Kelce back to Pirine.
I was fired up, baby. I was, oh yeah, playoff Travis. Let's go. He was doing it, man. That lateral, the Samaje Perine on third down to secure the first was absolute perfection. And it led to Patrick Mahomes' only touchdown pass. So, huge play by Travis Kelce. Don't let people tell you he isn't good anymore, because he is. Now, what happened in the second half? I don't know. Did the Raiders make adjustments that I didn't see? Maybe. But it also felt like you can't really get the ball to Travis Kelce when the entire defensive line is bearing down on your quarterback. So people want to get mad at Travis Kelce. They want to get mad at anybody. No, look at your offensive line. That's what it is. If you want to know the difference between beating I always want to say Oakland. If you want to know the difference between beating the Las Vegas Raiders by 4 touchdowns and beating them by 2 points, look at the Chiefs' offensive line. That is the difference. If you can't protect your quarterback, if Patrick Mahomes literally never has time to see the field or throw to anybody or let anyone complete a route, you're going to have a really hard time winning football games. And that's what this is. We're watching them have a hard time winning because they're losing up front. The Raiders are the worst running football team in the NFL. They ran roughshod over the Chiefs today. So if you want to know, why are the Chiefs playing so close? What's going on? Why can't they blow teams out? It's because the offensive line and the defensive line are struggling. The offensive line especially. The defensive line has been struggling a lot this year. They had some nice moments today. They looked a little bit better. We saw improvement. It's not all going to happen at once, guys. The defensive line, it's not all going to happen at once, but we saw improvement today with the return of Charles Omenihu. That has to make you optimistic. The offensive line, we're hoping for DJ Humphries. But if you're wondering, what is the answer? Why, God, why? That's seriously, why, God? Why? Why are we seeing the Kansas City Chiefs have every game be so close? The answer is the offensive line. It's very difficult to score in the red zone. It's very difficult to be successful as a football team when your offensive line can't stop anybody. They can't get any push in the running game, and they certainly cannot protect Patrick Mahomes. And that is concerning for so many reasons, but the biggest one is you have a quarterback that you invested $500 million into, and you're struggling to protect him? That's not possible. You can't do that and expect to be an elite-level franchise. Now, the Chiefs are an elite-level franchise, but a lot of teams used to be elite-level franchise. The Dallas Cowboys used to be an elite-level franchise. You have to continue to make the right choices and put people in position to be successful and protect your $500 million quarterback if you want to remain a top-level franchise. And I think the Chiefs will do that. Is right now, the offensive line is rough, but I don't think we see Wanya Morris play again this year. Not after today, and after last week and the week before. I think the last 3 or 4 weeks have really taken out this Chiefs offensive line. They have got to find a new answer. I hope it's DJ Humphries, but no matter what, you have to find an answer. Travis Kelce with a good second half. They had to keep him in a block a lot, too. That's another thing that stinks for Travis Kelce, man. He comes out and has a really nice first half, but Mahomes can't have any time. Mahomes has no time to throw the football. So what do? Well, you bring Travis Kelce in and make him block. He can't go out and catch passes because he's too busy trying to protect Mahomes because you have 5 guys in the offensive line that are clearly incapable of doing so. So Travis Kelce's numbers fall off in the second half. He was clearly frustrated at the end of the game. He didn't even shake the hands of the opposing team. That's different for Travis Kelce. I don't think we've ever seen Travis just walk into the tunnel right after a game and not shake anybody's hand. I don't know if that was a frustration with the Chiefs, if that was a frustration with the Raiders and the way they were playing. I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll find out during the week, and we'll discuss it on the midweek blitz. But that was something to keep an eye on. Travis Kelce walking off the field without shaking hands right after the game is not something we see from him. I wonder why that happened. Is he injured? There's just a lot of questions. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, 4 receptions, 90 yards. We saw some great things from DeAndre Hopkins today. He had one inexcusably terrible drop that not only took away a very big moment for Patrick Mahomes because of how immaculate that play really was for Patrick Mahomes, man. That play was so immaculate that he gets away from Max Crosby. He's going down. He finds him for a first down on a 3rd and 11, a pivotal moment of this football game, and it bounces right off of DeAndre Hopkins' chest. That stunk. However, 4 receptions for 90 yards is a very productive day for DeAndre Hopkins, and frankly, he was wide open for a touchdown, and Mahomes just missed him. But at this point, it's hard for me to really criticize Mahomes for missing any throws because he's continually getting hit every single play. You can't play quarterback in the NFL if you're getting hit every single play. So the fact that Patrick Mahomes is as good as he is, despite the lack of help he's getting from anybody, is not only something that should be discussed more by everyone everywhere, but it's something that really should be commended. And I understand people don't want to give Patrick Mahomes his flowers. They want to cut Patrick Mahomes down, but that's because they're jealous. They're jealous that their quarterback needs all those other things to be perfect. Patrick Mahomes doesn't need everything to be perfect. It'd be nice if they were better, but he doesn't need them to be perfect because he's an 11-1 quarterback, even with all of the problems that he's been dealt on this offense. Patrick Mahomes is always going to be that dog, and he's always going to find a way to win because that's what winners do. And that's the reason everybody hates Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes is the best winner of them all. And in time, you'll see he's even more of a winner than Tom Brady. Noah Gray, 4 receptions, 58 yards. Noah Gray has emerged, I think, as sort of that Aaron Hernandez. And I know, a dark reference. I get it. But if you go back to that Dynasty Patriots team, when they had Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski, it feels a little bit that way right now with Travis Kelce and Noah Gray. It's kind of that Gronk Hernandez back and forth. I think Al Michaels even alluded to it on the broadcast on Amazon Prime. They have a 1-2 punch at tight end right now that is probably the best in the NFL. Also, side note, Brock Bowers, I really wish you didn't get drafted into the AFC West. I really wanted you to go to an NFC team. I wanted the Chiefs to get Brock Bowers, but when it became clear he was going to be a top 10 pick, that idea became unrealistic. So my hope was that Brock Bowers would end up in the NFC South or somewhere where he could just dominate and we would see him once every 4 years. Nope, now we see Brock Bowers twice a year, and I'm sick to my stomach because he is a generational talent at tight end, and I would trade a whole draft to get Brock Bowers. I've loved his game ever since his freshman year at Georgia. But Noah Gray and Travis Kelce, back to the crux of the issue, Noah Gray and Travis Kelce together, especially when it comes to the playoffs, are going to be one of the most dynamic duos at tight end that we've ever seen. Probably the most dynamic duo at tight end since Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. So when we see Noah Gray elevating himself to becoming a legitimate star in the NFL, and we also see Travis starting to get back to some of that playoff Travis mentality, we are seeing a legitimate duo blossoming in the NFL to the point where Travis and Noah could take over games. We could see a situation, especially come January in the playoffs, where Travis Kelce and Noah Gray just take the game over. And that's an exciting prospect going forward for the Kansas City Chiefs. They can take games over. They can be absolute monsters. And as that continues to develop, them together, together, Kelce had 68, Noah Gray has 58. We're talking about two tight ends combining for over 120 yards. So as that continues into the playoffs, that is going to be a very dynamic duo that I don't know any defense is going to have a chance to stop. So let's go. Patrick Mahomes, get after it. Keep throwing to Travis Kelce and Noah Gray. Let's keep seeing that dynamic duo at tight end grow and blossom for the Kansas City Chiefs. Because as frustrating as today was at points, when you have two tight ends combining for over 120 yards, and you have two tight ends that are making big plays on third down to keep drives going, there is infinite reason for optimism. So even with a game where the Chiefs were lucky to win, there are a lot of things to like about this game, a lot of things to like about this team. And I'm not going to stand for the blasphemy. I won't do it. I'm not standing for the blasphemy out here, people saying the Chiefs aren't good enough. The Chiefs are good enough. They're a team of destiny. That's what we saw today. We saw a team of destiny get a lucky win, and that happens en route to a Super Bowl. We've seen it time and time again, and it's very lucky for the Kansas City Chiefs that they did not just get this win. They got this win, and they've also gotten an opportunity to learn from it because they even know there is not one person in that Chiefs locker room that's going, man, we played our best game today and we really deserve to win. Not one player saying that, and that's a good thing. If you can get away with this game with a W and still have the ability to learn from it as if it were a loss, that's an incredible situation for the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's one that could elevate them beyond everybody else come playoff time. So when these games get close in the playoffs, and they do, they get close in the playoffs, and weird, zany things happen in the playoffs, the Chiefs are used to it. And they'll be ready for it, and they will elevate and win their 3rd Super Bowl in a row and their 4th Super Bowl in the last 5 years. 6 years? How does math work? No, 5 years. We're good. Oh, it's so good. All right. A couple more things to get to. I want to discuss Nick Bolton. 10 tackles, huge plays too. That's the nice thing about Nick Bolton's game today. Not only did it show up on the stat sheet, he had a lot of moments that were dynamic and phenomenal that didn't even show up on the stat sheet. His ability to penetrate on that pass rush when they brought him on a 3rd down in a big moment. This is what Spags does with Nick Bolton that I love so much. He waits. He does not bring Nick Bolton on blitzes very often, but when he does, it's always in a big 3rd down moment, and Bolton always makes the play. We saw it a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago against the Broncos in a big moment. Brought the sugar blitz, up came Bolton, sacked Bo Nix in a big 3rd down situation. Today, very similar, big 3rd down situation. Bolton comes on the rush. He doesn't get to Aiden O'Connell, but he gets in his face, gets his hands up, and knocks the ball down. Huge plays by Nick Bolton throughout the entire game. Big stops in the running game, right at the line. Disruptions in the backfield. And not to mention that on the play where the Chiefs got lucky and won it, Nick Bolton was the guy that got in the backfield and fell on the football to win the game. Nick Bolton won this game for the Kansas City Chiefs, and if I'm giving out the game ball, it's going to number 32 on the defense, Nick Bolton. That man played his tail off today and deserves all the flowers, because if the Chiefs didn't have Nick Bolton today, the Chiefs do not beat the Las Vegas Raiders. Amazing game by Nick Bolton. I'm giving him the Chiefs Chase post-game game ball. Nick Bolton from the University of Missouri. Huge time game by him, and frankly, I'm happy that the Chiefs are 11-1. You know what this show was for me? Because we're wrapping things up here. We're right about done. We got a few more minutes. And let's see, the one more thing I want to touch on before we leave. But I do want to mention this as we leave. You know what this show was, at least for me? It was a bit of a release of all the negative energy that we felt during the game for the first beginning of the show, right? That was a release of a lot of negative energy for me because of how hard it was to watch that offensive line, especially today. And a lot of the things the Chiefs did today were hard to watch, to be fair. But the offensive line was the toughest thing for me to watch of this entire situation. It was the toughest part. So now that we got all that out and we're remembering that the Chiefs are in fact 11-1, they are the number 1 seed in the NFL, we have to put a big smile on our face and really just be happy that when the playoffs start and the AFC seeds are laid out, if it started today, the Kansas City Chiefs would get a bye week and the entire league, the entire conference would have to run through Arrowhead to get to the Super Bowl. And let me be very clear about one thing. All these other teams can talk, all these other fan bases can talk, but there's nobody in Ravens Nation, in Bills Mafia, or any other team in the NFL that wants to see number 15 in the Kansas City Chiefs in January. That is a fact. So right now, even with the bad feelings of the game, an 11-1 record, oh, baby, you got to feel good about that. And winning games, feeling like a team of destiny, winning games in a tiny, lucky way. Today was lucky, okay? Today was lucky. The Broncos, that wasn't lucky. Chiefs blocked that field goal. There's no luck involved with blocking a field goal. That's just Leo Chenal being John Cena and busting through the line. That wasn't lucky. Today was lucky. Team of destiny, baby. The Chiefs get lucky. One more thing I want to touch on before we get out of here was Justin Reed. Justin Reed on the defense. He got beat for a deep one by Turner, but that was really a good offensive play. I didn't give a lot of flowers to the Raiders because, frankly, I don't think the Raiders played that well. However, in that one play where Turner went in motion, went around the sideline, they got him one-on-one with Justin Reed, a guy that you knew couldn't keep up with Turner. He got beat on that play. Aside from that one play, Justin Reed was a dynamic reason to keep the Raiders at 17 points today and a huge time player for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Reed has had some just okay games this year. This game against the Raiders, despite the one time he got beat, Justin Reed played a really good football game, guys. So keep those smiles up. Keep enjoying yourselves because the Chiefs are 11-1. This has been Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano. The Chiefs beat the Las Vegas Raiders 19-17, and no matter how many times it happens or no matter how close the game is, it always feels good to beat the Las Vegas Raiders, especially now that they're in Vegas and think they're all fancy. Back when they were in Oakland, you felt a little bit of empathy for them. Now you're in Vegas, screw you. Beat the Raiders every year. We hate the Raiders. Raiders lose, Chiefs win 19-17. 11-1, number one seed in the AFC. A lot of reasons to smile, a lot of reasons to be extraordinarily happy and positive about this team. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Mike Bassano. This has been the Chiefs Chase post-game show, and make sure you tune in next week for the Midweek Blitz. Have a phenomenal rest of your holiday.